The sky over Musutafu is already broken when Goku arrives. Not torn by gods. Not split by planets colliding. Just cracked. Smoke rolls between buildings like exhausted breath. Sirens scream not as panic but as procedure. Yellow evacuation tape flaps in perfect lines. Drones hover. Screens flash instructions. This world isn't afraid. It's organized. Goku lands softly in the middle of an intersection, boots barely scuffing the asphalt. No crater, no shockwave, just a man standing still, head tilted, listening. He hears heartbeats. Too many. Too fast. A bus is overturned 3 blocks away. He can hear a child crying beneath it. A building is lining, its support beam failing inch by inch. There's fire on the 5th floor of an apartment complex, but no one screaming anymore. That's what bothers him. Goku doesn't wait. He moves. Not fast enough to blur the air. Not loud enough to announce himself. He lifts the bus first, one hand under twisted metal, careful, gentle. The child underneath stares up at him with soot-streaked eyes. Hey, Goku says softly, smiling. You okay? The kid nods, stunned. Goku sets the bus down sideways so it won't tip again, then jogs toward the building. He braces the beam with his shoulder, adjusts the angle, redistributes the load like he's done this 1,000 times. Because he has. People watch. Civilians. Not cheering. Not filming. Just confused. On the 5th floor, Goku climbs the outside wall hand over hand, peeks into the smoke-filled apartment, and taps on the glass. A woman coughs, frozen. It's okay, he says, waving. I'll carry you. He does, down the wall, sets her gently on the pavement, turns back before she can even thank him. No cameras follow. That's strange. Goku pauses in the street, chest rising, sensing something off, not danger but delay. Heroes arrive. Not late. Not early. Right on schedule. They descend with practiced flair. One lands hard, cracking pavement on purpose. Another strikes a pose atop a lamppost. A third speaks into a wrist device, voice calm, rehearsed. Crisis contained, civilians safe, proceeding with perimeter sweep. They notice Goku. All of them do. But not the way warriors do. The tallest hero steps forward, visor reflecting Goku's face. You, civilian. Civilian. Goku blinks, yeah. Step back behind the evacuation line. Goku gestures behind him. Everyone's already safe. That's not the point, the hero says, firmer now. This is an active hero operation. Goku looks around. The fires are out. The screams are gone. The danger is finished. So you're done, Goku asks. The pause. We weren't authorized to disengage yet. That's when Goku feels it. Not Kai. Not bloodlust. Authority. Another hero pulls out a tablet, scrolling. Name. Goku. Hero alias. I don't have ones. The tablet pauses. Quirk. Goku scratches his head. I trained. Silence. A different kind. The heroes exchange looks. One of them sighs, not relieved, not angry, annoyed. Unlicensed quirk usage during an active incident, the visor hero says. That's a violation. Goku laughs just a little. Oh, sorry, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to help. That sentence hangs heavier than any explosion. You can't just act, the hero replies. This is regulated. Goku looks at him, really looks. You mean people were in danger, Goku says slowly, choosing each word, and I was supposed to wait. The hero stiffens. You were supposed to leave it to professionals. Goku glances back at the street, the overturned bus, the cracked building, the child now wrapped in a blanket, staring at him like he's dreaming. "Back where I'm from," Goku says gently. "If you can help, you help." A drone floats closer, red light blinking. "Sir," the hero continues, tone sharpening, "step behind the line or we'll be forced to detain you." Detain. That word finally lands. Goku feels it then, not anger, not fear, but confusion so deep it almost hurts. He's fought tyrants, gods, universes, but never this. A world where strength isn't feared. It's scheduled. He raises his hands slowly, not surrender, respect. "Oh, okay," he says, "if that's how it works here." He steps back. The heroes relax instantly. Tension drains, procedures resume. No one asks how he lifted the bus. No one thanks him. He stands behind the line, watching professionals do nothing. A moment later, a woman, one he saved, tries to cross toward him. She is stopped immediately. "Ma'am, stay behind the barrier." "But he, please comply." She looks at Goku, helpless. He smiles at her, gives a small thumbs up. "It's fine." But inside, something shifts. Goku looks up at the skyline, at banners on buildings, logos, rankings scrolling across digital billboards. Hero Activity Report, Incident Resolved. Resolved. Goku exhales. This world doesn't need a savior. It needs permission. And for the first time since he was a child, Goku wonders something dangerous. What happens when doing the right thing is against the rules? Goku doesn't understand WH. He did wrong. That's the problem. The emergency is over. The smoke has thinned. Civilians are being escorted away in neat lines, guided by heroes with practiced smiles and matching uniforms. Everything feels finished. And yet, Goku can feel eyes on him. Not hostile. Not afraid. Evaluating. He stands near the barricade, hands on his hips, watching the city settle back into routine. Screens already replay highlights of the incident, slow-motion rescues, heroic poses, official commentary. Goku isn't in any of it. A shadow falls over him. "Sir." Goku turns. 3 pro heroes stand in front of him now, close enough that he can smell smoke on their costumes. One of them holds a data tablet. Another has his arms crossed, jaw tight. The third watches Goku like he's a puzzle missing pieces. "Yes," Goku answers, cheerful as ever. The tablet hero clears his throat. "We need to ask you a few questions." "Oh, sure," Goku says. "Is everything okay?" The hero hesitates. That wasn't the answer he expected. "A name." "Goku." The tablet beeps, no results. "Hero names." "I don't have ones." Another pause, longer this time. "Affiliation." Goku blinks. "Affil what?" The crossed arms hero exhales slowly, already irritated. "Agency, school, sponsorship." "Oh," Goku says, understanding, or at least trying to. "None of those." The third hero finally speaks. "Then why were you involved in the incident?" Goku smiles, points back toward the street. People were in trouble. Silence. Not awkward silence. Professional silence. The tablet hero scrolls again. "You intervened without authorization." "I helped," Goku corrects gently. "That's not how it works," the crossed arms hero snaps. Goku tilts his head. "It's not." The heroes exchange a look, the kind that says he's not pretending. "Listen," the tablet hero says, softening his tone. "This is a regulated society. We appreciate civilian cooperation, but direct intervention, especially at your level, requires licensing." "My level," Goku repeats. The third hero steps closer now, eyes sharp. "You lifted a public transport vehicle with one arm. You stabilized a collapsing structure without support equipment. You climbed a building faster than most mobility quirks. Goku scratches his cheek. Oh, yeah, I guess I did. That's dangerous, the hero says. Goku laughs, a quick, surprised sound. No, it's not. The crossed arms hero bristles. You don't get to decide that. That sentence hits harder than intended. Goku's smile fades, not fully, but enough. I didn't hurt anyone, he says, calm, certain. That's not the metric, the tablet hero replies. Intent doesn't override protocol. Protocol. Goku looks past them, at the city, at the people being ushered away by heroes wearing brand logos, at a child pointing excitedly at a flying silhouette in the sky. Where I'm from, Goku says slowly, if you can save someone and you don't, that's wrong. The crossed arms hero scoffs. This isn't wherever you're from. No, Goku agrees, I noticed. The third hero's gaze narrows. What exactly are you? That question finally feels like a threat. But Goku doesn't sense malice, just confusion wrapped in authority. I'm just a guy who trains, Goku answers honestly. A lot. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. The tablet beeps again. The hero sighs. We can't classify your quirk. I don't have ones. That's impossible. Goku shrugs. People say that a lot. The crossed arms hero steps forward. So let me get this straight. You're unlicensed, unregistered, unaffiliated, and you think you can just act like a hero. Goku opens his mouth, then stops. Because that word lands differently here. Hero. Back home, it just meant someone who shows up. Here, it sounds like a title. I don't think I'm a hero, Goku says finally. I just helped. The third hero frowns. Helping without accountability is reckless. Goku's brows knit together. Accountability. Training records, background checks, oversight. So paperwork, Goku says. The crossed arms hero doesn't deny it. For a moment, no one speaks. Sirens fade in the distance. The city breathes again. Goku looks at the heroes, really looks this time. They're strong, disciplined, dedicated. But tired. So tired. Can I ask something? Goku says. The tablet hero nods warily. If I wasn't strong enough, Goku asks, would you still be mad at me for trying? That question catches them off guard. The third hero opens his mouth, then closes it. That's not relevant, the crossed arms hero says too quickly. Goku nods slowly. Oh, he says, then I think I get it. Get what? The tablet hero asks. Goku smiles again, but this time it's smaller, quieter. This world doesn't ask why you help, he says. It asks who allowed you to. None of them respond. The crossed arms hero finally gestures toward the barricade. For now, we're letting you off with a warning, but do not interfere again. Next time there will be consequences. Goku raises a hand. Got it. He turns to leave, then pauses. Hey, he says over his shoulder, you all did great out there. The heroes blink. Before any of them can respond, Goku walks away, unescorted, unregistered, unresolved. They watch him disappear into the crowd. The tablet hero looks down at his screen, still no data. No record, he mutters. The third hero clenches his fist. That's what scares me. And high above the city, as clouds drift lazily past skyscrapers and hero billboards flash reassuring slogans, Goku feels something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not anger, not doubt, but the quiet realization that in this world, doing the right thing can still be called wrong. The room is too white. Not clean, sterile. Goku sits on the edge of a metal bench, feet dangling slightly, hands resting on his knees. He's been asked not to move, not threatened, not restrained. Just contained. Across from him, a glass wall separates observation from evaluation. Behind it, officials murmur in low, careful voices. Screens glow with scrolling data, graphs, genetic maps. None of it makes sense. To them. A technician adjusts her glasses and leans closer to the monitor. Run it again. It's already the third pass, another replies. Run it again. A beam of light sweeps across Goku's body, harmless, diagnostic. He feels it trace muscle, bone, breath. No Kai resistance, no flare. He lets it happen. On the screen, a red warning flashes. No quirk factor detected. The room goes quiet. That's impossible, someone whispers. A man in a dark suit folds his arms, eyes fixed on the display. His badge reads Hero Public Safety Commission. Everyone has a quirk factor, he says. Even the quirkless have markers, vestigial genes, something. The technician swallows. Sir, there's nothing. Another scan begins, deeper this time, cellular, molecular. Still nothing. Goku tilts his head, curious. So, did I pass? No one answers. Behind the glass, tension spreads, not fear, not anger. Uncertainty. A woman taps at her tablet. No mutation, no external augmentation, no artificial enhancement. Check for suppression, the suit snaps. Already did. Cloaking. Nothing to cloak. Goku leans back on his hands, peering through the glass. Hey, am I supposed to feel something? The question startles them. The suit turns on the intercom. Do you have any idea what you are? Goku thinks about it. I'm a Saiyan, he says, then pauses, but I don't think that helps. The technician blinks. Did he say? Focus, the suit cuts in. He studies Goku like a problem that refuses to be solved. You exhibit strength beyond registered quirks, the suit continues. Speed, durability, combat awareness, and yet no quirk factor. Goku shrugs. I trained. That's not an answer. It's the truth. The suit's jaw tightens. Training doesn't rewrite biology. Goku smiles, polite but firm. Maybe your biology's just smaller. The room stiffens. Not offended. Threatened. The technician clears her throat. Sir, the system can't assign him a category. The suit exhales slowly. Then the system is wrong. No, she replies quietly. The system doesn't know what to do. That distinction matters. Goku watches their faces change. Professionals trained to manage chaos, now unsettled by something simple. In absence. No villain intent. No criminal record. No quirk. Just power that doesn't belong to their framework. Another official speaks up. What about quirk evolution, anomalous late manifestation? No neural activation, the technician replies. No adaptation response. His body isn't using anything. Then how? He just is. The words hang there. Goku swings his feet gently. Am I in trouble? The suit hesitates. That depends. On what? On whether you're a risk. Goku nods thoughtfully. I don't want to hurt anyone. That's not the question. Goku looks up now, eyes steady. It should be. The intercom crackles. The suit turns away, rubbing his temple. If this gets out. It will, another official says. Someone already leaked the bus footage. Online forums are speculating. Speculating what? That he's quirkless. The room goes still. That's impossible, the suit says automatically. But if it's true, the official continues, then Hero Society has a problem. Goku doesn't hear all of it, but he feels the shift. Fear finally. Not of him. Of what he represents. A world built on categories, emitter, transformation, mutation, suddenly facing something outside the list. A man who didn't win the genetic lottery, didn't inherit power, didn't manifest it, and yet stands above it. The technician turns to the suit. Sir, the predictive models are failing. How? They can't estimate his ceiling. Everyone has a ceiling. She shakes her head, not him. The suit looks back at Goku through the glass. For the first time, he doesn't see a subject. He sees a question. What happens, the suit murmurs, if people find out they don't need a quirk? Goku hears that. He leans forward, people already done. T-Night One, he says gently, they just think they do. The intercom crackles again, that's enough. A door slides open, 2 guards enter, not aggressively, but alert. Mr. Goku, the suit says, voice measured, until we understand what you are, you'll remain under observation. Goku stands easily, okay. No resistance, no protest. As they escort him down the corridor, screens along the walls display hero rankings, quirk statistics, power distributions. Goku studies them with open curiosity. So, he asks one of the guards, what happens to people who don't fit? The guard doesn't answer. Because in this world, not fitting is the most dangerous thing you can be. Behind them, alarms quietly trigger, not loud enough for civilians, but loud enough for systems. Classification error. Undefined entity. Review required. The system isn't broken. It's confronted. And somewhere deep in the structure of hero society, a foundation cracks, not from attack, but from absence. The hallway trembles before the door even opens. Not from fear, from presence. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, echo down the corridor outside the observation room. Guards straighten. Officials stop talking. Someone unconsciously fixes their tie. Goku notices before anyone else. Not the sound, the weight behind it. A familiar kind of strength. The door opens, and the room fills. All Might steps inside, larger than life even without the cameras. Broad shoulders stretching his suit, golden hair catching the sterile light, his smile already in place, perfect, practiced, reassuring. The symbol of peace. Goku looks up from his seat and smiles back. Not brighter, not louder, just real. For half a second, the world pauses. All Might feels it. Not danger, not hostility. Something worse. Relief. He clears his throat. Young man, he says, voice booming out of habit, I hear you've caused quite the stir. Goku stands politely. Oh, hi, you must be really strong. The officials freeze. No awe. No reverence. Just an observation. All Might laughs reflexively, a big heroic sound. Ha ha ha, I suppose I am. But inside, he didn't feel it. No rush of reassurance. No spark of admiration. The laugh echoes hollow. All Might steps closer. Up close, the difference becomes clearer. This man isn't impressed. Not because he's arrogant. Because he doesn't need to be. I've reviewed the reports, All Might continues, lowering his voice slightly. Unregistered activity, unclassifiable abilities. You put a lot of people in a difficult position. Goku nods, I'm sorry about that. That's when All Might sees it. No guilt. No fear. Just sincerity. You don't seem sorry, All Might says carefully. Goku thinks, I'm sorry it caused trouble. I'm not sorry I helped. The words land softly. They hit hard. All Might crosses his arms, posture shifting into something more human. Do you know what it means to act as a hero in this world? Goku tilts his head. It means people need help. All Might smiles wider, teeth gleaming. That's part of it. Goku waits. All Might's smile holds, then strains. But it also means responsibility, he continues. Order, being a symbol others can rely on. Goku nods slowly. That sounds heavy. All Might flinches. Not visibly. Internally. It is, he admits. The room is quiet now. Officials watch from behind glass, sensing something they don't understand slipping out of their control. All Might gestures toward a chair. Sit with me. Goku does. They sit across from each other, two men with impossible strength, separated by something far heavier than power. I protect people, All Might says, by standing above them, by showing them that no matter how bad things get, I will always be there. Goku listens, fully, no interruption. That's amazing, Goku says. All Might exhales, a breath he didn't know he was holding. It's necessary. Goku's brow furrows gently. Is it? The question isn't a challenge. It's concern. All Might chuckles. If I don't stand as a symbol, fear spreads, crime rises, people lose hope. Goku thinks about that. I've fought really scary guys, he says, world-ending ones. All Might nods, I'm aware. And sometimes, Goku continues, people needed to believe I'd win. All Might leans forward slightly. Exactly. But sometimes, Goku adds, they needed to believe they could keep going, even if I wasn't there. Silence. All Might feels something tighten in his chest. That's different, he says. This society is built on you, Goku finishes gently. The words aren't accusatory. They're sad. All Might laughs again, quieter this time. You speak like you understand. Goku smiles, the same smile he gave the child under the bus, the woman in the smoke. I died once, he says casually, actually more than once. All Might stiffens, you died. Yeah, and people kept living. That lands wrong. Or maybe too right. All Might looks at him now, not as a potential threat, not as an anomaly, but as something impossible. Someone who's been replaceable. You don't carry it, All Might says quietly. Carry what? The weight, All Might answers, of being knighted. Goku shrugs, I help when I can, I leave when I should. All Might's smile flickers. For years, that smile has been armor. Izuku Midoriya has filled notebooks his entire life. Not casually. Obsessively. Margins packed with arrows. Pages layered with revisions. Observations stacked on top of theories until the paper almost tears under the weight of understanding. Quirks are patterns. Patterns can be learned. Learned things can be mastered. That belief carried him here. It starts the first morning Goku trains. No announcement. No audience. No cameras. Just an empty stretch of concrete behind a government facility, early enough that the city hasn't decided who it's going to be yet. Midoriya hides behind a vending machine, notebook already open, pen trembling in his grip. He's not supposed to be here. That makes it easier to breathe. Goku stands alone in the center of the lot, eyes closed, feet bare against the cold ground. Midoriya watches carefully. No stance activation. No quirk trigger. No muscle inflation. No transformation. Goku inhales. Slow. Deep. The air around him doesn't distort, but something changes. Midoriya feels it in his chest, like the world just lined in to listen. Goku moves. Not explosively. Not dramatically. He starts with stretches. Simple ones. Neck rolls, shoulder rotations, a slow bend at the waist. Midoriya's pen scratches furiously. Warm-up phase, no visible quirk amplification, full body awareness. Then Goku begins to punch. Not fast, not hard. Each strike is deliberate, controlled, as if he's teaching his body a language it already knows but refuses to forget. Midoriya blinks. There's no wasted motion. No excess. Every movement has purpose, like a conversation between muscle and breath. Efficiency level beyond most pro heroes, comparable to no better. Goku shifts into kicks, spins, blocks an imaginary strike that Midoriya never saw coming but somehow felt. Midoriya's heart races. This isn't power expression. It's discipline. After 30 minutes, Goku stops, wipes his forehead with a towel, drinks water. Midoriya expects him to leave. Instead, Goku drops into a squat, begins push-ups, slow, painfully slow. Midoriya's eyes widen. Why, he whispers. Why train like this if you're already that strong? An hour passes. Then 2. Goku stumbles on the last set, catches himself with a grunt, laughs. Haha, guess I still need work. Midoriya freezes. Still, his pen slips from his fingers. That night, Midoriya reviews his notes. They don't make sense. No quirk category explains Goku. No enhancement model fits. No mutation theory survives contact with reality. There's nothing to analyze. So the next day, Midoriya watches closer. This time Goku trains with others, low-level heroes, sidekicks, trainees. And something impossible happens. Goku listens. He watches their form, corrects gently, encourages constantly. Hey, try shifting your weight earlier. Nice block, do it again, but slower. Oof, that one hurt, you okay? He doesn't dominate. He adjusts. Midoriya notices the heroes improving, not because Goku shows them how strong he is, but because he shows them how weak they're allowed to be. During a break, Goku sits on the curb, stretching his fingers. Midoriya gathers his courage. Excuse me. Goku looks up, smiles immediately. Oh, hi. Midoriya bows so hard his notebook nearly falls. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I'm a student. I mean training to be a hero. Goku laughs. You don't have to explain so fast. Midoriya freezes. Sorry. It's okay, Goku says warmly. You take notes a lot, huh? Midoriya stiffens. Why, you noticed? Yeah, Goku replies. You watch like you're trying to understand everything at once. Midoriya's eyes shine. I am. Goku nods approvingly. That's a good way to learn. Midoriya hesitates, then blurts out, what's your quirk? Goku scratches his head. I don't have one. Midoriya exhales sharply. Then how are you? How do you? How is any of this? Goku thinks I practice. That's not enough, Midoriya says automatically, then stops. He hears his own voice. Goku tilts his head. Why not? Midoriya opens his mouth. Closes it. Every explanation he's ever written assumes power starts somewhere external. Inheritance. Activation. Luck. Goku stands, wanna train. Midoriya panics. I'm not strong enough. Goku smiles, perfect. They start slow. Painfully slow. Breathing drills, balance exercises, footwork without speed. Midoriya stumbles constantly. Goku never rushes him. Again, Goku says. Nope, again. There, you felt that right. Midoriya does. For the first time, his body responds before his quirk does. He's sweating, shaking, exhausted. And smiling. Hours later, Midoriya collapses onto the ground, gasping. That was amazing, he pants. Goku sits beside him. You're really strong. Midoriya laughs weakly, only because of One for All. Goku looks at him, not dismissive, curious. That's the power you inherited, right? Midoriya nods. It chose me. Goku considers that. Do you think it owns you? He asks. The question hits like a dropped weight. Midoriya stares at the S. Kai. I never thought about it like that. Goku grins. Power's just a tool. The work is still yours. Midoriya's fingers curl into the concrete. All his life, he believed effort was preparation for power. Now he wonders if effort is the power. Later that night, Midoriya opens a fresh notebook. He writes one line at the top. Subject Gyokaiu. Conclusion, no conclusion possible. He underlines it twice. Then beneath it, smaller. Hypothesis, effort may matter more than inheritance. Midoriya closes the notebook slowly. For the first time since gaining One for All, he feels like he's truly earning it. The warehouse district was supposed to be the perfect stage for chaos. Abandoned buildings, no civilian casualties to worry about, and plenty of space for the kind of destruction that would get the media's attention. The League of Villains had planned this carefully, a coordinated attack that would draw out multiple pro-heroes, stretch their resources thin, and prove that society's supposed protectors were just as fragile as everyone else. What they didn't plan for was Goku. The sludge villain had been recruited specifically for this operation. His quirk made him nearly impossible to contain, his body a writhing mass of toxic liquid that could slip through the smallest cracks and suffocate victims in seconds. He oozed through the warehouse doors with confidence, ready to demonstrate why heroes should fear him. Behind him, 3 other villains spread out through the complex. A woman who could generate explosive crystals from her fingertips, a man whose quirk allowed him to manipulate metal, and a hulking brute with a hardening ability that made his skin nearly impenetrable. They were ready for a fight. They were ready for fear, for anger, for the desperate violence that heroes always resorted to when pushed into a corner. What they got instead was someone sitting, cross-legged on a stack of crates, eating what appeared to be an enormous sandwich. Oh hey, Goku looked up as the sludge villain burst through the entrance, his face brightening with genuine surprise. You guys here for training too? I didn't know this place was being used. The sludge villain stopped, his amorphous body rippling with confusion. This wasn't the reaction he expected. Heroes were supposed to snap into combat stances, bark orders, maybe deliver some self-righteous speech about justice. This man, this strange, orange-clad man, was treating their arrival like running into neighbors at a grocery store. Training, the sludge villain gurgled, his voice bubbling up from somewhere deep within his liquid mass. Are you stupid? We're villains. We're here too. Oh, you're villains? Goku hopped down from the crates, brushing crumbs off his gi. His tone carried no judgment, just curiosity. That's interesting. I've met a few villains since I got here, but most of them just kind of attack right away. You guys seem like you're organized though. That takes teamwork, right? The metal manipulator, a wiry man with cybernetic implants running along his arms, stepped forward with his hands raised. Immediately, every piece of rebar, every metal beam in the warehouse began to vibrate. Listen, hero, I don't know what kind of psychological game you're playing, but... I'm not a hero, Goku interrupted, but not unkindly. I mean, I help people when they need it, but I'm not part of that whole system you guys have here. I'm just me. He tilted his head, studying the metal bending around them with genuine fascination. Wow, you can control all of that at once. That must take incredible concentration. How far away can you sense metal? Can you feel the composition, like what alloys they used? The villain's concentration broke. Several beams clattered to the floor. He stared at Goku like the man had just started speaking an alien language. In a way, he had the language of genuine interest, of questions without malice. It was completely disarming. What are you doing? The woman with the crystal quirk demanded, her hands already glowing as volatile formations grew from her palms. This is an attack. We're attacking. Why aren't you fighting back? Goku looked at her and his expression was so genuinely confused that it made her hesitate. Why would I fight you? You haven't actually hurt anyone yet. I mean, you broke that door, but that's just property damage. He glanced back at the twisted metal entrance. Actually, that was pretty impressive. Did you guys coordinate that? The timing on the entry was really precise. The hardening villain, who'd been ready to charge forward and start the real violence, found himself frozen. His quirk had already activated, his skin taking on the texture and durability of stone, but there was nothing to hit, nothing to break. Just this strange man who looked at their coordinated assault like it was a performance he was genuinely interested in reviewing. "This is insane," the sludge villain bubbled, his body beginning to spread. Across the floor, moving to surround Goku. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, it doesn't matter. Once I get close enough, I'll..." "You'll what?" Goku asked, and there was no challenge in his voice, just curiosity. "I mean, I get that your quirk is really powerful. That liquid form is amazing. You're basically immune to physical attacks, right? But what happens after? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here?" The sludge villain stopped spreading. In all his years of villainy, through every heist and assault and moment of chaos, no one had ever asked him that. Heroes fought him, civilians ran from him, other villains used him, but nobody asked what he was trying to accomplish. I'm a villain," he said, and for the first time his voice carried uncertainty. "I take what I want, I hurt who I want, that's what villains do." "But why?" Goku stepped closer to the advancing sludge, seemingly unconcerned about the toxic fumes rising from it. "I mean, you clearly have control over your quirk. That's not easy. I've seen people here struggle with way less complicated abilities. You must have practiced a lot, put in real work. So why use all that effort to hurt people instead of, I don't know, help them?" "Because nobody helped me." The words burst out of the sludge villain before he could stop them. "Because I was treated like a monster from the day my quirk manifested. Because every hero I ever met looked at me like I was already a criminal." The warehouse went silent. The other villains stared at their comrade, shocked by the raw emotion that had escaped. This wasn't part of the plan. They were supposed to be intimidating, supposed to be threatening, not vulnerable. Goku's expression softened. "That sounds really lonely," he said quietly, "and unfair. I've seen how people here react to quirks they don't understand. They get scared, and when people are scared, they're not usually at their best." He sat down on the floor, right in front of the spreading sludge, completely exposed. "I'm sorry that happened to you. Nobody deserves to be treated like a monster just because they're different." The metal manipulator's hands dropped to his sides. "What are you doing?" he whispered, but the question was rhetorical. They all knew what Goku was doing. He was listening, really listening, not to their threats or their quirks or their villain personas, but to the pain underneath. "My whole life I've fought a lot of bad people," Goku continued, looking between each of the villains. "I mean really bad. People who wanted to destroy planets, kill everyone, become immortal dictators. But you know what I learned? Most of them were angry about something. Most of them were hurt or scared or felt powerless, and they turned that into violence because they didn't know what else to do." He smiled, and it was warm, completely without judgment. "But that doesn't have to be the end of the story. Some of the strongest people I know used to be enemies. They changed because someone gave them a reason to." "You think we're going to change?" The crystal woman laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Just because you're being nice to us, that's not how the world works." "Maybe not," Goku admitted, "but I think you're already stronger than you give yourselves credit for. You worked together to plan this. You're coordinated, skilled, and you clearly care about something enough to risk coming here." He stood up slowly, brushing off his pants. "That kind of dedication. Imagine if you used it for something that actually made you happy instead of just angry." The hardening villain's skin flickered, his quirk deactivating without him meaning to. "You don't know anything about us," he said, but there was no heat in it, "about what we've been through." "You're right, I don't," Goku agreed, "but I'd like to if you want to talk about it." He glanced around the warehouse. "Or if you still want to fight, that's okay too. I won't hurt you, but I can show you some of what I can do. Maybe we could spar a little, work off some of that anger safely. I've found that a good fight can actually help you think more clearly sometimes." The League of Villains stood frozen in a moment of collective cognitive dissonance. Every rule they understood about hero-villain dynamics had just been shattered. There was no self-righteous lecture, no threats about justice, no attempt to immediately subdue and arrest them, just an invitation to talk, to spar, to be seen as more than their worst actions. "This is a trick," the metal manipulator said, but his heart wasn't in it. Some kind of psychological tactic. "It's not," Goku said simply. "I just think that if someone had talked to you guys, really talked to you, before you became villains, maybe things would have turned out different. and maybe it's not too late for things to be different now. The sludge villain slowly pulled himself back together, condensing from the spreading pool into a more human. "Oid Shape, you're serious," he said, and it wasn't a question. "You actually mean this?" "Yeah," Goku smiled. "I do. Life's too short to spend it being angry all the time. Trust me, I've met a lot of angry people and none of them were happy." He stretched, his joints popping. "So what do you say? Want to talk? Want to train? Or do you still want to do the villain thing? I'm good with whatever, honestly." The four villains looked at each other, a silent conversation passing between them. This wasn't what they'd prepared for. Fear tactics didn't work on someone who saw them as people first and villains second. Threats fell flat against genuine curiosity. Violence seemed pointless against someone who'd already offered to spar with them as equals. The crystal woman's hands stopped glowing. "If we talk," she said slowly, "you won't try to capture us." "Why would I?" Goku looked genuinely confused. "You haven't actually hurt anyone today, and even if you wanted to leave after we talked, that's your choice. I'm not a cop." He paused. "Though if you do decide to hurt people, I will stop you, but I'd rather help you find a reason not to want to hurt people in the first place." It was the hardening villain who moved first, his massive frame sinking down to sit on the warehouse floor, then the metal manipulator, then the crystal woman. Finally, the sludge villain oozed closer, settling into a shape that resembled sitting. Goku beamed and sat down with them, cross-legged and completely relaxed, as if sharing a warehouse floor with four villains was the most natural thing in the world. "Okay," he said brightly. "So tell me, what made you all so angry that you thought being villains was the answer?" And for the first time in years, they did. The press conference had been arranged with military precision. UA's auditorium was packed wall-to-wall with journalists, their cameras creating a constellation of red recording lights in the dimness. The Hero Public Safety Commission had pulled out all the stops, professionally printed banners, a polished podium, even a highlight reel playing on loop that showed grainy footage of Goku's heroic interventions across the city. At the center table sat some of the most powerful people in Hero Society: the HPSC president, Principal Nezu, Endeavor in his full flaming glory, and several board members whose suits probably cost more than most people's cars. And there, looking slightly uncomfortable in a folding chair that seemed too small for him, was Goku, still wearing his orange gi. "Thank you all for coming," the HPSC president began, her voice smooth and practiced. She was a woman who'd built her career on controlling narratives, on shaping public perception like clay. "Today marks a historic moment for Hero Society. We're here to officially recognize and honor an individual whose extraordinary abilities and selfless actions have already saved countless lives." She gestured toward Goku with a smile that had been perfected in 1,000 similar press events. "Mr. Goku, or Son Goku, as we understand is your full name, has demonstrated power levels that frankly redefine what we thought possible with quirk development. After extensive discussion, the Commission is prepared to offer him an expedited hero license, complete provisional ranking, and immediate placement in our top hero program." The cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters leaned forward, fingers poised over keyboards and recorders thrust into the air. This was the story they'd been waiting for, a new powerhouse entering the rankings, the kind of shakeup that sold papers and generated clicks for weeks. Goku raised his hand politely, like a student in class. Sorry, what's a provisional ranking?" The president's smile didn't waver, though something flickered behind her eyes. A provisional ranking is a starting position in our hero billboard chart, based on projected impact and demonstrated capability. Given your power level and the incidents you've already been involved in, we'd be placing you in the top 20 immediately, with a clear pathway to the top 10 within the first year. "Oh," Goku scratched his head, his spiky hair somehow defying the motion. "That's nice, but why would I need that?" A murmur rippled through the press corps. Endeavor, who'd been sitting with his arms crossed and his flames burning low, suddenly sat forward. His eyes narrowed as he studied this strange man who'd been causing such disruption to the careful order of Hero Society. "The ranking system," Endeavor said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd spent years clawing his way up those very rankings, "determines resource allocation, public trust, and professional recognition. It's how Hero Society functions. It's how we measure who's making the greatest impact." "But I already know if I'm making an impact," Goku said, his tone genuinely confused. "If someone needs help and I help them, that's an impact, right? Why would I need a to tell me that?" The silence that followed was deafening. Principal Nezu's paws twitched, the tell of someone whose brilliant mind was rapidly recalculating. The HPSC president's professional smile strained at the edges. This wasn't in the script. They'd prepared for humility, for gratitude, even for negotiation. They hadn't prepared for complete, guileless incomprehension of the entire system they were offering him entry into. A reporter from Hero Weekly jumped up, microphone extended. "Mr. Goku, are you saying you don't care about being recognized as a top hero? That fame doesn't interest you?" "Fame?" Goku blinked. "I mean, it seems like it would be kind of annoying, honestly. Back home there were times when I was pretty famous after saving the world and stuff, and it mostly meant I couldn't go out for food without people wanting to talk. Which is nice, people are great, but sometimes you just want to eat without explaining how you defeated someone." He smiled apologetically. "Is that rude? I don't mean to be rude." Another reporter stood, this one from a major news network. "But surely you understand the benefits. Top heroes have access to better support equipment, larger operating budgets, priority in crisis situations." "Wait, priority?" Goku interrupted, and for the first time something sharp entered his voice. Not anger, but genuine concern. "You mean if there are two emergencies happening at the same time, heroes go to one based on their ranking, not based on which one is more dangerous or has more people in trouble?" The HPSC president stepped in smoothly. "It's more nuanced than that, of course. The system ensures optimal resource distribution based on multiple factors." "But the ranking matters in who responds," Goku pressed. He leaned forward, his casual demeanor shifting into something more focused. "That seems wrong. I mean, shouldn't every hero just go to whoever needs help most? That's the whole point, isn't it?" Endeavor's flames burned brighter. He stood, his massive frame dominating the stage. "You think it's that simple? You think hero society runs on good intentions alone? The rankings drive competition, push heroes to improve, give the public a way to know who they can count on in a crisis. Without that structure, without that motivation, the entire system would collapse into chaos." "But why do you need motivation?" Goku asked, looking up at Endeavor with genuine curiosity. "I mean, if your hero isn't helping people, the motivation, that's what makes it worthwhile, right? The fact that you made someone's day better, or saved someone's life, or stopped something bad from happening." He stood up too, though he somehow seemed less imposing despite matching Endeavor's height. "Back where I'm from, I fought some really bad guys, like end-of-the-world level bad. And yeah, people knew about it sometimes, but that was never why I did it. I did it because if I didn't, people would die. The recognition was just extra noise, I guess." A journalist from a Hero Gossip magazine stood up, her voice carrying a hint of incredulity. "Mr. Goku, the commission is also prepared to offer you endorsement deals worth potentially hundreds of millions of yen. Energy drink companies, sports equipment, even a manga deal. You could be financially set for life. Are you saying that doesn't interest you either?" Goku's face lit up. "Oh, there's money involved. That's actually really useful. Kaikai's always getting on me about money." His enthusiasm made several board members relax. Finally, normal human motivation they could work with. "But wait, what would I have to do for the money?" "Standard endorsement work," the president explained, relief creeping into her voice. "Appearances, commercials, promotional events. Your image would appear on products. You'd attend some publicity functions. So I'd have to spend time doing commercials and events instead of training or helping people." Goku's enthusiasm evaporated. "That doesn't sound very efficient. I mean, couldn't I just get a job doing something useful and make money that way? Why would I get paid for my face being on things?" A younger reporter, barely out of journalism school, raised a trembling hand. "Because you're powerful, Mr. Goku. In our society, power equals value. The ranking system, the endorsements, it's all recognition of your value to society." Goku was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes moving across the assembled press, the commission officials, the cameras broadcasting this to millions. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but carried in weight that made everyone listen. "I don't think that's right," he said simply. "I mean, I've met a lot of powerful people. Some of them were good, some of them were terrible. Power doesn't make you valuable, what you do with it does. And if your whole system is built around measuring and ranking power, then you're measuring the wrong thing." He looked at the HPSC president directly. "The people we met here who have helped me the most. The lady who runs the food stand near the park. The guy who showed me how your subway works. The kids at that school who tried to teach me about quirks. None of them are powerful, but they're all valuable. They all made my life better. Where's their ranking?" The auditorium was silent enough to hear the air conditioning hum. Principal Nezu stood, his paws clasped behind his back, his high-pitched voice cutting through the tension. An interesting philosophical point, Mr. Goku. However, surely you can see the practical necessity. Hero society requires organization, structure, accountability. How would you propose we determine resource allocation without some form of measurement system? I don't know, Goku admitted freely. I'm not really good at organizing stuff. That's always been other people's job. But maybe instead of ranking heroes against each other, you could just ask what people need. Like if there's a neighborhood that needs more heroes, send more heroes there. If there's a type of emergency that happens a lot, train more heroes for that. It doesn't seem like you need competition for that. You just need people who care about helping. A senior board member, a man whose quirk allowed him to project authority, leaned forward. Young man, you're being incredibly naive. Competition drives excellence. Without the rankings, without the fame and recognition, what incentive do heroes have to push themselves to be better? Goku's face broke into a wide grin, the kind that had preceded some of his greatest battles. Getting stronger, that's the incentive. I've spent my whole life training to be better, to push past my limits, to see how far I can go. And none of it had anything to do with being ranked or famous. I did it because there's nothing more exciting than discovering you can do something you couldn't do yesterday. Don't your heroes feel that way? That rush when you break through a wall you've been hitting for months. When you suddenly understand something about your power that you didn't before. Endeavor stared at Goku, and something complex moved across his scarred face. For years, decades, he'd driven himself up the rankings, pushed his family, sacrificed everything to be number one. And here was someone who'd achieved power beyond anything Endeavor had seen, who'd done it purely for the joy of growth itself. It was infuriating. It was humbling. It was impossible to argue with. So you're declining. The HPSC president's voice had gone flat, professional mask slipping to reveal the calculation underneath. You're turning down a hero license, a top 20 ranking, an endorsement deal's worth enough to never worry about money again. I mean, I guess, Goku looked apologetic. I'm sorry if that messes up your plans. It's just that I came here by accident, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get home. While I'm here, I'll help people if they need it because that's just what you do. But I don't need permission or a license or a ranking to do that. And honestly, all the publicity stuff sounds like it would get in the way of the actual helping, you know. A reporter from an independent blog stood up, her voice carrying admiration. Mr. Goku, you do realize you're destabilizing the entire hero ranking system. If someone of your obvious power level operates outside the structure, it calls into question what the rankings even mean. Other heroes might start questioning whether they need official recognition to make a difference. Goku tilted his head, considering. Would that be a bad thing? I mean, I've only been here a little while, but it seems like a lot of the heroes I've met are really stressed about their rankings. They're worried about their numbers going down, or not getting enough publicity, or losing endorsements. That sounds exhausting. Maybe if they didn't have to worry about all that, they could just focus on the helping part. The auditorium erupted. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Commission officials huddled in whispered consultation. Several journalists were already typing furiously, their headlines practically writing themselves. Mysterious powerhouse rejects hero system. Is the ranking system obsolete? Hero society faces existential challenge. Through it all, Goku stood calmly at the center of the chaos he'd inadvertently created, looking genuinely confused about why everyone was so upset. To him, it was simple. You help people because they need help, you train because getting stronger is fulfilling, and you don't need anyone's permission or recognition to do what's right. That these basic principles were somehow revolutionary in this world of structured heroism, of commodified courage, of ranked righteousness. He couldn't understand why. The HPSC president called for order, her voice sharp. Mr. Goku, I want to be very clear about what you're choosing. Without a hero license, you have no legal authority to intervene in Chris. Is situations. Without official recognition, you have no liability protection, no support infrastructure, no backup when you need it. You'd be operating as a vigilante, which carries significant legal risks. Okay, Goku said simply, that's fine. It's not fine, Endeavor's flames roared to full intensity. You can't operate outside the system. There are rules, protocols, responsibilities. Hero society functions because we all agree to operate within the established framework. But I didn't agree to it, Goku pointed out reasonably. I mean, I just got here. I didn't sign up for your system, and I'm not planning to stay long enough for it to matter. While I'm here, I'll help if people need it, and I won't help if they don't. I don't need rankings or licenses or endorsements for that. I just need to pay attention and care about what happens to people." He bowed politely to the assembled crowd, the gesture formal and respectful despite the chaos. "Thank you for the offer, though. I can tell you all worked really hard on this, and I appreciate that you wanted to include me, but I think I'm good just being me." And with that, Goku walked off the stage, leaving behind an auditorium full of people whose entire professional understanding of heroism had just been challenged by someone who didn't even realize he was doing it. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of the Commission's crisis management scramble, of Endeavor's frustrated flames, of reporters frantically rewriting their stories. Outside, Goku paused to wave at a group of elementary school kids who'd been watching the press conference on an outdoor screen. They cheered and waved back, asking if he'd show them some moves sometime. He grinned and promised he would. No rankings needed, no endorsements required. Just a man who'd accidentally revealed that maybe, just maybe, Hero Society had forgotten what heroism actually meant. The sun hadn't fully risen when Class 1A assembled at Ground Beta, their training uniforms on and their expressions ranging from eager to exhausted. They'd been told to arrive an hour before normal classes for specialized training with their guest instructor. Most of them expected combat drills, quirk applications, maybe some flashy demonstrations of power. What they found instead was Goku sitting cross-legged on the cracked asphalt, eyes closed, looking like he was doing absolutely nothing. "Is he sleeping?" Kaminari whispered to Kirishima. "I don't think so." Kirishima squinted at their instructor. "His back's too straight." Aizawa stood off to the side, his sleeping bag conspicuously absent for once. He'd been skeptical when Principal Nezu suggested letting Goku run a training session, but after watching the man's approach to everything else in Hero Society, his curiosity had won out. If nothing else, it would be educational to see how Class 1A handled instruction that didn't fit their expectations. Goku's eyes opened, and despite the early hour, they were bright and alert. "Good morning, thanks for coming so early. I know it's tough getting up when it's still dark." He stood in one fluid motion that made it look like gravity was optional. "Aizawa-sensei told me you guys are some of the best students at UA, and I've been excited to work with you." Bakugo crossed his arms, small pops of explosive sweat already crackling between his fingers. "Yeah, so what flashy technique are you gonna show us? Some special move that'll make us as strong as you?" "Actually," Goku said cheerfully, "we're not going to use quirks at all today." The silence that followed was profound. 20 students stared at him like he'd just suggested they train underwater while juggling. "Not use our quirks." Midoriya's hand shot up instinctively, his analytical mind already racing. "But our quirks are fundamental to our hero identities. Most of our training is built around developing and applying them in." "I know," Goku interrupted gently, "and that's great, quirks are amazing, but I've noticed something since I've been here. A lot of you, maybe all of you, think of your power as something separate from yourselves, like it's a tool you pick up and use, but real strength, that comes from inside, from who you are when everything else is stripped away." Todoroki stepped forward, his heterochromatic eyes narrowed. "With all due respect, that sounds like philosophy, not training. We need practical skills that will help us save lives." "Do you?" Goku tilted his head. "Okay, let me ask you something. What happens if you're exhausted? If you've used your quirk so much that you can't activate it anymore? What happens if you're trapped somewhere that nullifies your power, or fighting someone whose quirk cancels yours out? Are you helpless then?" The students exchanged glances. Several of them looked uncomfortable, Midoriya especially, given his history with a quirkless childhood and one for all's physical toll. "We train our bodies too," Ida said, his hand chopping through the air in his characteristic style. "Physical education is a crucial component of the hero curriculum. We run, we do strength training." "Sure," Goku agreed, "but do you know why you're strong? Do you understand where that strength actually comes from?" He started walking among them, his movements relaxed but purposeful. "I've fought people who could destroy planets. I've trained with gods, and you know what I learned? Power isn't about the techniques you know or the special abilities you have. It's about understanding yourself completely, your limits, your fears, what drives you, what stops you." "That's easy for you to say," Bakugo snapped. "You're already the strongest person any of us have ever seen. You don't need philosophy because you can just blow up whatever's in your way." Goku stopped and looked at Bakugo with unexpected seriousness. "You think I was always strong? I died twice saving my planet. Twice. And you know why I lost those fights initially? Because I was arrogant. Because I didn't understand myself well enough to see my own weaknesses. Strength without self-knowledge is just waiting to fail. He clapped his hands together, the sound sharp in the morning air. So here's what we're doing today. No quirks. We're going to train the part of you that exists regardless of what power you were born with. The part that makes you a hero even if your quirk stops working. And how exactly do we do that? Momo asked, her creation quirk itching to manifest something practical, something tangible. We start with breathing. Breathing, multiple students shouted in unison. Goku laughed at their expressions. I know it sounds weird, but seriously, how many of you actually think about how you breathe when you're fighting, when you're scared, when you're pushing past your limits? He looked around at blank faces. That's what I thought. Okay, everyone sit down. We're going to learn how to breathe properly first, then we'll move on to the harder stuff. Reluctantly, with varying degrees of skepticism, Class 1A sat. Aizawa remained standing, but even he looked interested now. Close your eyes, Goku instructed, settling back into his cross-legged position. And I mean really close them. No peeking to see what everyone else is doing. This isn't a competition. He waited until they complied. Now breathe in slowly through your nose. Feel the air moving into your lungs. Feel your chest expanding, your belly moving. Don't control it yet, just notice it. For several minutes, the only sound was 20 teenagers breathing with various levels of self-consciousness. Bakugo's breath was aggressive even in rest. Midoriya's was analytical, like he was trying to find the optimal breathing pattern. Uraraka's was light and quick, unused to stillness. Good, Goku said softly. Now I want you to slow it down. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts. And while you're doing that, I want you to notice what you're thinking about. Don't judge it, don't try to change it, just notice. They breathed 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. Deku's probably analyzing the oxygen exchange rate, Bakugo muttered. No talking, Goku said, but his tone was amused. And yeah, some of you are thinking really hard right now, trying to do this right. But there is no right, there's just honest. Are you breathing because I told you to, or are you actually present in your breath? Midoriya felt something click. He'd been treating this like a puzzle to solve, a technique to master. But Goku wasn't teaching technique, he was teaching awareness. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Some students' breathing had deepened, become more natural. Others were clearly struggling with the stillness, their bodies twitching with unused energy. But Goku didn't rush them. Okay, he finally said. Open your eyes. They did, blinking in the brighter morning light. How many of you thought about your quirk while you were breathing? Almost every hand went up. Interesting, right? Even when you're specifically told not to use them, your quirks are on your mind. They're part of your identity. That's not bad, but it means you don't really know who you are without them. He stood, stretching unself-consciously. All right, now the physical part. Everyone up. Class 1A rose, expecting combat stances or strength exercises. We're going to run, Goku announced. Run, Zero looked around the training ground, like laps. Nope, we're going to run until we can't run anymore. And while we run, you're going to maintain that breathing pattern. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. And you're going to notice when your mind starts lying to you. Lying to us, Tsuyu croaked, her finger on her lip. Your mind is going to tell you that you need to stop way before your body actually needs to stop. It's going to say you're too tired, it hurts too much, you can't possibly keep going, and most of the time. That's a lie. Your body has way more capacity than your mind thinks it does. So we're going to run, and you're going to notice the difference between real limits and imaginary ones. They started running. Goku set a moderate pace, nothing superhuman, nothing that required quirk enhancement. Just a steady, sustainable rhythm around the perimeter of ground beta. Breathe, Goku called out as he ran effortlessly alongside them. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. If you lose the rhythm, you're letting your panic override your control. The first 10 minutes were easy. The second 10 minutes, some students started to struggle. By 30 minutes, several were red-faced and sweating heavily. This is stupid, Bakugo panted. I could blast around this course in a quarter of the time. But you're not trying to get around the course fast, Goku pointed out, not even slightly winded. You're trying to understand what your body can actually do. Keep breathing. Notice when your mind starts making deals with you. Just stop at the next corner. Just slow down a little. This doesn't matter anyway. Midoriya's legs were burning. His lungs felt tight despite the controlled breathing. And Goku was right. His mind was absolutely screaming at him to stop, offering 1,000 rational reasons why continuing was unnecessary. But he kept running, kept breathing, and noticed something strange. The burning sensation wasn't actually getting worse. It had plateaued. His mind had been treating it like an escalating crisis, but his body had actually adapted. By 45 minutes, something remarkable happened. Several students found a second wind, not through quirk activation or desperate determination, but through simple acceptance. They stopped fighting their exhaustion and just ran with it. Good, Goku called out. Some of you are getting it. You're noticing that suffering and pain are different things. Your muscles are tired. That's just information. It's your mind that turns that information into suffering by resisting it. At the hour mark, Goku called for them to stop. Class 1A collapsed in various states of exhaustion, several lying flat on the ground, chests heaving. That was insane, Kaminari gasped. I've never run that long without using my quirk to stimulate my muscles. And you didn't need to, Goku said, sitting down among them like he'd just taken a gentle stroll. Your body is capable of so much more than you think. Quirks are powerful, but sometimes they become a crutch. You use them to avoid discomfort instead of learning what your baseline capabilities actually are. Momo sat up slowly, her analytical mind processing. So this is about building our foundation, understanding our natural capacity so we can build on it more effectively. Exactly, Goku beamed at her. See, you're smart. If you don't know what you can do without your quirk, you don't really know what your quirk is adding. You can't optimize something if you don't understand the baseline. Aizawa stepped forward, his expression thoughtful. What's next? Next is the hard part, Goku said, his tone shifting to something more serious. We're going to practice self-honesty. I'm going to spar with each of you, no quirks, just physical combat. And you're going to notice every time you flinch, every time you hesitate, every time fear makes you do something you didn't intend. Then you're going to tell me about it, out loud, honestly. That sounds, Midoriya searched for the right word. Terrifying, Goku offered helpfully. Yeah, it is. Being honest about your fears is way harder than facing them silently, but you can't overcome something you won't acknowledge. One by one, he sparred with them. Goku moved at human speeds, used no special techniques, just clean martial arts that any of them could theoretically learn. But his complete presence, his absolute awareness of every movement, made him seem untouchable anyway. When Bakugo charged in aggressively, Goku sidestepped and asked, "Why did you lead with anger instead of strategy?" When Midoriya hesitated before striking, Goku blocked effortlessly and asked, "What were you afraid would happen if you actually hit me?" When Todoroki tried to maintain perfect distance and control, Goku closed the gap instantly and asked, "Why are you trying to fight without engaging? What are you protecting?" Each question cut deeper than any physical blow. Because Goku wasn't judging, he was genuinely asking, and his open curiosity made it impossible to hide behind excuses. I'm angry because everyone expects me to be perfect, Bakugo shouted after his third failed attempt to land a hit. I'm afraid of hurting people with my power, Midoriya admitted quietly, even though I know that's irrational right now. I'm protecting myself from feeling things, Todoroki said, his voice barely above a whisper, because feeling things reminds me of my father. The training ground had become something between a DOJ. And a therapy session. Students were crying, laughing, frustrated, enlightened, sometimes all at once. And through it all, Goku simply listened, asked questions, and demonstrated that strength without self-knowledge was just violence waiting to implode. By the time the sun was fully up and regular classes were about to start, Class 1A was exhausted in ways they'd never experienced. Their quirks hadn't been used once. They'd activated no special abilities, performed no superhuman feats, and yet every single one of them felt fundamentally changed. So, Goku said as they gathered their things, what did you learn? That I've been using my quirk as an excuse not to face myself, Momo said slowly. That my body is capable of more than I thought, if I stop panicking, Kaminari added. That strength is meaningless if you don't understand why you're using it, Todoroki said, looking at his hands with new uncertainty. Bakugo was silent for a long moment, then growled, that I've been so focused on being strong that I forgot to figure out what I'm actually strong for. Goku smiled, that warm, genuine expression that had become his signature. Good, that's really good. Your quirks are amazing and you should absolutely master them. But they're not who you are, they're what you have. Who you are is what you just spent the last 3 hours discovering. And that, he gestured to all of them, exhausted and raw and more honest than they'd been in months. That's what will make you real heroes, not your powers. Your willingness to know yourselves completely, even the parts that are scared or angry or broken. As they walked back toward the main campus, Aizawa fell into step beside Goku. That was not what I expected. Bad unexpected or good unexpected? Goku asked. Disturbingly effective unexpected, Aizawa admitted. You got them to confront fundamental psychological barriers in a single morning session without using any of the standard pedagogical approaches. How? Goku shrugged. I just asked them to be honest. People are capable of incredible things when they stop lying to themselves. He paused, looking back at the students who were talking among themselves with new energy despite their exhaustion. That's the real training, you know, not techniques or powers or strategies, just the courage to see yourself clearly and accept what you see. Everything else builds from there. Aizawa watched his students, saw the subtle shifts in how they carried themselves, how they interacted. In one morning, without using their quirks once, they'd grown in ways that might have taken months of traditional training. You know, he said dryly, the Hero Public Safety Commission is going to hate that you can do this. Do what? Make heroes without the system, without rankings or licenses or official curriculum, just honesty and breathing and self-awareness. Goku laughed. Is that bad? For them, probably. Aizawa's expression might have been a smile, though it was hard to tell. For my students, best thing that could have happened. And as Class 1A headed to their next class, still processing what they'd learned, still feeling muscles they didn't know existed, they carried something new. The understanding that they were heroes not because of their quirks, but because of who they chose to be when everything else was stripped away. No special powers needed, just breath, honesty, and the courage to see themselves clearly. That, Goku had shown them, was the foundation everything else was built on. It was 3 days after the training session when Midoriya found Goku sitting alone on the roof of the main UA building, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold that nearly matched his gi. The young hero in training had been carrying a question around like a stone in his chest, turning it over and over until the edges had worn smooth with anxious handling. He'd almost asked it a dozen times during training, but always stopped himself. Too personal, too revealing. Too much like admitting weakness. But something about the way Goku had talked about inherited strength, about understanding yourself completely, had made the question feel less like weakness and more like necessity. Goku-san, Midoriya's voice came out smaller than he intended. Do you have a minute? Goku turned, his face lighting up with that open, welcoming expression that made it impossible to feel like you were bothering him. Midoriya, yeah, of course, come sit. He patted the roof beside him. The view's really good from up here. Reminds me of looking out over West City from Capsule Corp. Midoriya sat, his legs dangling over the edge, his fingers already tapping nervously against his knees. For a long moment, he just watched the sun descend, gathering courage. I wanted to ask you something, he finally said. About power, about inherited power specifically. Goku tilted his head, curious but patient. Okay, what about it? You said during training that we needed to understand ourselves completely. That power without self-knowledge was just violence waiting to implode. Midoriya's voice was quiet, analytical in that way he had when he was processing something deep. But what if the power you have isn't really yours? What if it was someone else's first, and they gave it to you, and now you're responsible for living up to what they did with it? Something shifted in Goku's expression, not judgment or pity, but recognition. You're carrying someone else's legacy. It wasn't a question, Midoriya's breath caught. How did you? I can feel it, Goku said simply. Your energy is strange. It's powerful, really powerful, but it's like... He gestured vaguely with his hands, trying to find words for something he understood instinctively, like you're wearing armor that's too big for you. Not in a bad way, just in a way that means you're still growing into it. And there's something else in there too. Echoes, maybe. Like the power remembers other people who used it before you. Midoriya stared at him, his analytical mind spinning. He'd been so careful not to reveal the truth about One for All, the inherited quirk passed down through generations, the secret that All Might had entrusted to him. And this man, this stranger from another world, had sensed it immediately just by paying attention. "I can't tell you the details," Midoriya said carefully. "It's not my secret alone to share, but yes, the power I have. It belonged to someone I admire more than anyone in the world, someone who used it to save countless lives, who became the symbol of peace, who represented everything a hero should be." His hands clenched into fists, "And now it's mine. And some days I feel like I'm drowning in the weight of what it means, what it requires. What happens if I'm not good enough to carry it forward?" Goku was quiet for a moment, looking out at the darkening sky. "That does sound heavy," he acknowledged. "Who gave it to you?" I can't say." "That's okay," Goku smiled slightly, "but they must have thought you were pretty special to give you something that important." "That's what makes it worse," the words burst out of Midoriya like a dam breaking. "Because what if they were wrong? What if they saw something in me that isn't really there? I was quirkless my whole life. I was nobody, just a kid who took notes about heroes and dreamed impossible dreams. And then suddenly I had this power, this incredible gift, and everyone expects me to become the next great hero. But what if I can't? What if I'm just not enough?" His voice cracked on the last words, and he hated himself for it. This was supposed to be a philosophical discussion, not a breakdown, but something about Goku's presence made it impossible to hide behind his usual analytical distance. "Can I tell you about someone I knew?" Goku asked gently. Midoriya nodded, not trusting his voice. "His name was Gohan, my son." Goku's expression went soft with memory. "When he was young, I realized he had potential I never had, this incredible power that could surpass mine, surpass anyone's, and for a while I pushed him toward that. I thought if he just trained hard enough, if he just accepted his strength, he could protect everyone, he could be what the world needed." "What happened?" Midoriya asked. "He did become incredibly strong," Goku said. "Stronger than me actually, but he was also miserable, because he didn't want to fight. He wanted to study, to be a scholar, to live at life, and I'd been so focused on his potential, on what he could do for everyone else, that I forgot to ask what he wanted to do for himself." Goku turned to look at Midoriya directly. "The power was real, but the burden I put on him, that was something I created, not something the power required." Midoriya's breath hitched. "But someone has to carry the burden. Someone has to be strong enough to protect people, if the people with power don't step up." "Who told you it's a burden?" Goku interrupted, his tone curious rather than challenging. The question stopped Midoriya cold. What? Who told you that power is a burden, that carrying strength means suffering under its weight?" Goku leaned back on his hands, looking relaxed despite the depth of the conversation. "Because I've been strong my whole life, and I've never thought of it that way. My power isn't something I carry, it's something I am. But the responsibility is something you're choosing to feel," Goku said. "And that's not bad, caring about living up to someone's expectations, wanting to honor their legacy. That shows you have a good heart. But Midoriya, power isn't a burden unless you believe it owns you. And it sounds like you think this inherited strength means you have to become someone specific, fit into a shape that's already been carved out." Midoriya's mind raced, his analytical nature trying to process this new framework. "But the power I inherited, it has a purpose, a reason it was created. People sacrificed everything to pass it down through generations. How can I not feel the weight of that?" "You can honor their sacrifice without being crushed by it," Goku said simply. "Look, I don't know the details of your power or where it came from, but I know this. If someone you admire gave you their strength, they didn't do it so you could spend your life afraid of failing them. They did it because they saw something in you worth nurturing, something that was already there before the power." "But I was nothing before." "No," Goku's voice was firm, more serious than Midoriya had ever heard it. "Don't do that. Don't erase who you were before you got power. That person, the quirkless kid who dreamed impossible dreams and took notes and believed in heroes even when everyone told him he couldn't be one, that person is why you were chosen. The power didn't make you special. You were special, and that's why you got the power." Midoriya felt something crack in his chest, a fissure in the careful structure of guilt and inadequacy he'd built. "How can you know that?" "Because I've met you," Goku said like it was obvious. "I've seen how you think, how you care about people, how you analyze everything because you want to understand it completely so you can help better. That's not something a quirk gave you. That's who you are. And honestly, I think that's the part your mentor saw. The power was just the tool they gave you to express what was already inside." The sun had nearly set now, the sky deepening to purple. Midoriya's eyes burned with tears he refused to let fall. But what if I use it wrong? What if I make choices they wouldn't have made? What if I dishonor everything they built? Then you'll learn and do better next time, Goku said with a shrug. You think I've never made mistakes with my power. I've destroyed things I didn't mean to destroy. I've been too weak when people needed me to be strong. I've been too focused on fighting and not enough on what comes after. Power doesn't come with an instruction manual. You figure it out as you go. But you're you, Midoriya protested. You're confident, natural, like strength is just part of who you are. I'm still learning, Goku smiled. Yeah, me too. I've been training for decades and I'm still figuring things out. The difference is I don't think of that as a burden. I think of it as exciting. There's always another level to reach, another understanding to gain. The day I stop learning is the day I stop growing. Midoriya absorbed this, his mind working through the implications. So you're saying, the weight I feel isn't from the power itself, it's from my beliefs about what the power means. Exactly, Goku sat up straighter, animated. The power is just energy, right? It's neutral. What makes it feel heavy is all the stories you're telling yourself about it, that you have to be perfect, that you can't make mistakes, that you owe something to the past. But Midoriya, he waited until the boy met his eyes. The person who gave you this power, I bet they made mistakes too. I bet they struggled and doubted and had moments where they weren't sure they were good enough. And they probably don't want you to spend your whole life being afraid of disappointing them. They want you to live. Live, the word felt foreign in the context of One for All. Yeah, use the power, sure. Protect people, become a hero, honor their legacy. But also eat good food and make friends and laugh and train and discover new things about yourself. The power is part of your life, but it's not your whole life. It doesn't own you unless you let it. Midoriya thought about All Might, about the skinny, blood-coughing man behind the symbol of peace, about how he'd smiled when he passed One for All to Midoriya, about the hope in his eyes. Had All Might wanted his successor to feel crushed by the weight of legacy, or had he wanted something else entirely? All Might told me I could become a hero, Midoriya said quietly. When everyone else said I couldn't, when I didn't believe it myself, he said I could, and then he gave me the power to make it possible. See, Goku grinned. He didn't give you the power because you were already perfect. He gave it to you because he believed in who you could become. That's different. That's not a burden, that's a gift. Someone saying, I believe in you, isn't something to be afraid of failing at. It's something to be grateful for. But the previous users, all of them, they all fought so hard. Some of them died protecting this power, passing it forward. How can I be grateful when so many people sacrificed everything? Goku was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. You know what I think? I think the best way to honor people who sacrificed for you is to live fully, to take what they gave you and use it to create something beautiful, not to spend your whole life being sad about what they lost, but to be happy about what their sacrifice made possible. He stood up, stretching in that unself-conscious way he had. When I died saving my planet the first time, I didn't do it so my son would spend his whole life feeling guilty. I did it so he could live in a world without that particular threat. If he'd spent all his time mourning me instead of living the life I died to protect, that would have made my sacrifice meaningless. You see the difference. Midoriya stood too, his legs a bit shaky. So you're saying, the weight I feel is optional, that I can choose to see the power differently. Not optional exactly, Goku corrected gently, because you care and caring means feeling things deeply, but you can choose whether that caring feels like drowning or feels like purpose. The power isn't heavy. Your thoughts about the power are what's heavy, and thoughts can change. How? The question was almost desperate. How do I change how I think about something this important? Same way you change anything else, practice and honesty. Goku started walking toward the roof access door, gesturing for Midoriya to follow. Every time you notice yourself thinking, I have to be perfect or I can't fail them, stop and ask yourself, is that true? Is that what they would actually want? Or is that just fear talking? They walked in silence for a moment, and then Goku added, also, maybe try thinking of the previous users not as people you owe, but as people who are rooting for you. Like, imagine they're all watching, and instead of judging whether you're good enough, they're just excited to see what you do with their gift, how you'll use it in ways they never imagined, how you'll take their legacy and make it your own. The image stopped Midoriya in his tracks. He'd always imagined the vestiges of One for All as stern judges, measuring his worth. But what if they were more like grandparents, ancestors who'd passed down something precious, not as a test, but as a gift, who wanted to see him succeed not because he matched their expectations, but because his success meant their sacrifices mattered. Midoriya's voice was thick. That's a really different way to think about it. Is it better? Goku asked hopefully. I don't know yet, Midoriya admitted, but it's lighter. It makes the power feel less like armor I'm wearing and more like something that could actually be mine, not just borrowed, mine. There you go, Goku's face split into a huge grin. That's exactly it. The power is yours now. Not in a way that erases where it came from, but in a way that means you get to decide what it becomes next. You're not just a container for someone else's legacy. You're the next chapter of that legacy. And chapters don't just repeat what came before, they add something new. They'd reached the door back into the building. Midoriya paused with his hand on the handle, something settling in his chest. Not resolution exactly, but space. Room to breathe that hadn't been there before. Goku-san, he said quietly, thank you. I don't think anyone's ever talked to me about power like this before, like it could be something other than a responsibility. It can be a joy too, Goku said. It can be exciting and fun and something that makes you feel alive. Not every second, sometimes it'll still feel hard, but it doesn't have to be heavy all the time. You get to choose how you carry it. Midoriya nodded, his mind already working through the implications, already beginning to reframe. Years of internalized pressure. Power isn't a burden unless you believe it owns you, he repeated quietly. Right, Goku confirmed. And you, Midoriya, you own your power. It doesn't own you. It never did. You've just been carrying it like it did, and that's what made it feel so heavy. As they walked back through UA's corridors, Midoriya felt something he hadn't felt since before he'd received One for All: lightness. Not the absence of responsibility, but the presence of possibility. The power was still there, still massive, still connected to a legacy of sacrifice and heroism that stretched back generations. But maybe, just maybe, it could also be his. Not as a burden to bear alone, but as a gift to grow with. Not as a weight to prove himself worthy of, but as a tool to express who he already was. One for All wasn't questioned. It didn't need to be. It just needed to be reframed. And in the space that reframing created, Midoriya could finally breathe. The morning talk show had become essential viewing for Hero Society analysts. Heroes Today usually covered rankings, costume redesigns, and celebrity hero gossip. But for the past 3 weeks, the show had been dominated by a single, unsettling question: where had all the crime gone? The host, a sharp-eyed woman named Kayama Hana, shuffled her papers with visible frustration. Let's look at the numbers again, because frankly, they don't make sense. Violent crime in Yusutafu is down 63% over the last month. Property crime down 48%. Villain attacks down 71%. These are unprecedented drops, the kind of statistical anomalies that should have everyone celebrating. She paused, her expression darkening. So why does it feel wrong? Her guest, a hero statistics analyst named Watanabe Ken, leaned forward with his tablet displaying charts and graphs. Because the correlation doesn't match any known pattern. Historically, crime reduction corresponds with increased hero presence, more patrols, more visible deterrence, more publicized victories. But hero response times have actually increased in Yusutafu. There are fewer hero sightings, fewer dramatic rescues, fewer villain apprehensions making the news. So crimes are being prevented, Kayama said slowly, but not by heroes. Not by heroes operating within the normal framework, no. The screen behind them filled with grainy footage, cell phone videos, security camera captures, eyewitness accounts. All of them featured the same figure, a man in an orange gi, appearing seemingly from nowhere, resolving situations with minimal fuss, and disappearing before official heroes could arrive. In one clip, he was talking to a group of teenagers who'd been about to rob a convenience store. In another, he was sitting with a man whose quirk had gone haywire, calmly helping him breathe through the panic. In a third, he'd stopped a high-speed car chase by literally appearing in front of the vehicle, catching it with his hands, and then spending 20 minutes talking to the driver about what had driven them to such desperation. No fights, no dramatic rescues captured in perfect lighting for the news cameras, just problems ceasing to exist. The public is calling him the Wanderer, Watanabe continued. Though we know his actual name is Goku, he's been documented at over 200 incidents in the past month. And here's what's disturbing. In almost none of them did the situation escalate to the point where official heroes needed to respond. Kayama leaned back in her chair, which means... Which means he's not fighting crime, he's preventing it, and our entire hero society is built on responding to crime, not preventing it. The camera cut to street interviews. A shopkeeper in downtown Musutafu spoke directly to the lens. It's weird, you know. I used to see Mount Lady or Kamui Woods at least once a week. Big battles, lots of action. Now, nothing, it's quiet, too quiet. And occasionally I'll see that orange guy talking to someone who looks upset and then they just calm down and go home. It's like he's diffusing bombs before they explode. Another interview, a salary man waiting for a train. I appreciate the safety, don't get me wrong, but it feels unnatural. Heroes are supposed to save us from danger. This guy makes it so there's no danger to be saved from. What does that mean for hero society? A young mother with a child. My son's hero action figures are gathering dust. He used to act out battles, pretend to save people. Now he asks why the heroes aren't on TV anymore. How do I explain that problems are being solved before they become exciting? The show cut back to the studio. Kayama's expression was troubled. We're receiving reports from across the city. The Hero Public Safety Commission has issued a statement. Let me read it. While we appreciate any assistance in maintaining public safety, unauthorized intervention in potential hero incidents undermines the structured response. See system that society depends on. We are monitoring the situation and working with relevant parties to ensure proper protocols are maintained. Proper protocols, Watanabe repeated with a bitter laugh. The proper protocol is, villain attacks, heroes respond dramatically, villain is defeated, heroes are celebrated, rankings adjust accordingly, and the cycle continues. This man has broken the cycle entirely. At the Hero Public Safety Commission headquarters, the mood was far less analytical and far more panicked. Show me the revenue projections again, the commission president demanded, her professional composure cracking at the edges. A junior analyst brought up a holographic display that painted a grim picture. Hero merchandise sales are down 18%. Pay-per-view subscriptions for Hero channels are down 23%. Advertising revenue from Hero endorsements has dropped 15%. And he swallowed hard. Applications to Hero schools are down 11% for the upcoming term. 11%, one of the board members stood abruptly. That's catastrophic if young people stop aspiring to heroism. They're not stopping, another analyst interrupted. They're just confused. Focus groups with teenagers show a fundamental question emerging. If peace can exist without dramatic hero interventions, what's the point of the hero system as currently structured? The president's fingers drummed on the table. What about Goku himself? Can we pressure him to work within the system, force compliance somehow? With what leverage? The legal advisor shook her head. He hasn't broken any laws. Technically, helping people isn't illegal, and he's refused all official recognition, all compensation, all attempts to bring him under our jurisdiction. He exists entirely outside our framework. Then we need to control the narrative, the president decided. If we can't control him, we control how the public perceives what's happening. The hero system is about more than just solving problems. It's about symbols, inspiration, the social contract. We need to remind people why they need heroes. But controlling a narrative required understanding it, and nobody at the commission understood what was actually happening in the streets of Musutafu. In a small ramen shop in a quiet neighborhood, Goku sat at the counter enjoying his fifth bowl while the owner, an elderly man named Tanaka, worked the kitchen. The TV in the corner played the morning shows segment, the host's concerned faces discussing the crime reduction paradox. "You're making people nervous," Tanaka observed, not unkindly. He'd been one of the first people to befriend Goku when he'd appeared in this world, mostly because Goku's appetite for ramen was extraordinary even by generous standards. "I am," Goku looked genuinely surprised, "but crime is down, people are safer. Isn't that what everyone wants?" "You'd think so," Tanaka set another bowl in front of him, "but people don't just want to be safe. They want to feel safe in a way they understand. Heroes fighting villains, that's understandable. That's a story that makes sense. You talking to criminals until they stop being criminals, that's strange. It makes people question things." Goku slurped noodles thoughtfully. "What kind of things?" "Whether they need heroes at all," Tanaka said quietly. "And for a society built entirely around hero worship, that's a terrifying question." The bell above the door chimed. A young woman entered, early 20s, exhausted scrubs suggesting a hospital shift just ended. She ordered coffee and sat 2 stools down from Goku, her attention immediately drawn to the TV. "It's weird, right?" she said to nobody in particular. "My grandmother remembers when All Might first appeared. She said it felt like the world got brighter, safer, like having a symbol you could believe in changed everything." She stirred her coffee absently. "But this is different. It's not a symbol, it's just absence of danger, and somehow that feels more unsettling than the danger itself." "Why?" Goku asked, genuinely curious. She blinked, seeming to notice him for the first time, then her eyes widened. "Oh, you're him, the Wanderer." "I'm Goku," he corrected gently, "and I really want to understand. Why is preventing problems more unsettling than solving them after they happen?" The woman considered this, her medical training making her approach the question analytically. Because we've built our entire society around reactive heroism. Heroes respond to crises. The bigger the crisis, the more heroic the response, the more celebrated the hero. It's a feedback loop that requires danger to function. Remove the danger, and suddenly the whole system seems unnecessary, Tanaka supplied. "Not unnecessary," she corrected, "but different than we thought. Like we've been treating symptoms instead of causes for so long that we forgot causes could be addressed at all." Goku nods. "Dead slowly, so people are uncomfortable because I'm making them see that a lot of the danger they experience didn't have to happen in the first place." "Exactly," the woman's coffee sat forgot. "Take that clip of you talking to those teenagers before they robbed the store. You spent, 10 minutes, 15, just listening to them, hearing about their financial stress, their family problems, their feeling that society had left them behind. And by the end, they didn't want to rob the store anymore. They wanted help finding jobs, accessing resources, being seen as people rather than potential criminals." "That seems obvious, though," Goku said. "Most people don't want to hurt others. They just feel like they don't have options. If you give them options, show them possibilities they hadn't considered, most of them choose not to be violent." "But that takes time," the woman pressed. "That takes actually caring about the person behind the crime. The current hero system doesn't have time for that. It's built on rapid response, decisive action, clear victories. Your approach requires patience, empathy, the willingness to see potential villains as people who are struggling." "And that's uncomfortable," Tanaka added, "because if criminals are just struggling people, then we're all responsible for the conditions that made them struggle. Can't just point at heroes and say they'll fix it. Have to look at society itself." The shop went quiet except for the TV, which had moved on to analyzing hero ranking fluctuations. Several top heroes had dropped positions despite no decrease in their performance metrics. The statistical model simply didn't know how to account for crimes that never happened. "I didn't mean to make people uncomfortable," Goku said softly. "I was just trying to help." "I know," the woman said, "and that's what makes it so disturbing. You're not trying to change anything. You're just being yourself, doing what seems natural to you. And your natural approach is revealing that our entire system might be built on a flawed premise." "What premise?" "That peace requires symbols. That safety requires spectacle. That we need larger-than-life heroes to protect us from larger-than-life villains." She finally sipped her coffee. "But you're demonstrating something else entirely. That most conflicts don't need dramatic interventions. They need attention, empathy, and someone willing to address root causes before they escalate." Goku's phone buzzed, a basic model that Aizawa had insisted he carry. The message was from Midoriya. "News is going crazy about crime statistics. Are you okay?" He typed back slowly, still getting used to the technology. "I'm fine. Eating ramen. Is something wrong?" The response came quickly. "People are scared. Not of danger, of the lack of danger. It's destabilizing." Goku stared at the message, genuinely confused. Back home, peace was always the goal. Defeating enemies, yes, but the point was always to reach a state where fighting wasn't necessary. The idea that peace itself could be threatening, it made no sense to him. "Can I ask you something?" The woman had turned fully toward him now. "Do you understand what you're doing? Not just the immediate helping, but the broader implications." "Honestly, no," Goku set down his bowl. "Where I'm from, we fight when we have to and rest when we don't. The goal is always to reach a point where fighting isn't necessary. But here, it seems like fighting is the point. Like your society needs conflict to function. That seems backwards to me." "It is backwards," Tanaka said from behind the counter. "But it's been backwards for so long that people think it's normal. Your presence is holding up a mirror. showing us what we've accepted as inevitable is actually just chosen. The TV cut to breaking news, a press conference with several top heroes. Endeavor stood at the podium, his flames burning bright, his scarred face stern. There have been questions about the recent statistical anomalies in crime rates, he began, his voice carrying absolute authority. While we acknowledge the contributions of all individuals working toward public safety, the Commission wants to remind citizens that the structured hero system exists for crucial reasons. Professional heroes are trained, licensed, insured, and accountable. We operate within legal frameworks that protect both civilians and heroes themselves. Unauthorized interventions, no matter how well-intentioned, exist outside these protections. He's not wrong, the woman murmured. If something goes wrong during one of your interventions, there's no accountability structure, no insurance, no legal recourse, no oversight. Has something gone wrong? Goku asked. She paused. No, not yet, but the system is built on preparing for when things go wrong, not trusting that they won't. Endeavor continued. The hero system provides more than just crisis response. It provides symbols that society can rally around, inspiration for the next generation, and a clear structure for recognizing and rewarding those who put themselves at risk for others. A society without heroes, without those symbols, loses something essential to its identity. There it is, Tanaka said quietly, the real concern, not safety, identity. Goku watched the press conference, his expression thoughtful. So they're not actually worried about people being unsafe, they're worried about people not needing heroes to feel safe. Which threatens everything the current system is built on, the woman confirmed. The rankings, the endorsements, the schools, the entire economic and social structure built around hero worship. If people start thinking they can create peace through prevention rather than response, through empathy rather than power, what happens to all of that? A peaceful world doesn't need symbols, Goku thought. It just needs people willing to pay attention before things go wrong. I should probably talk to them, he said, standing up and leaving payment for his meal plus a generous tip. The Commission, the heroes, whoever's worried. I don't want to cause problems. Maybe if I explain. Explain what? Tanaka interrupted. That peace is possible without dramatic hero interventions, that most conflicts can be resolved through conversation rather than combat. Goku, that's not an explanation, that's a revolution. And revolutions make people nervous even when they're nonviolent. Goku paused at the door, looking back at these two strangers who'd helped him understand something crucial about this world. So what should I do? The woman and Tanaka exchanged glances. Finally she spoke. What you've been doing, help people, prevent problems, be yourself. The discomfort people feel, that's not your responsibility to fix. That's society's responsibility to process. You're just showing us what's possible. Whether we choose to build toward that possibility or cling to the comfortable dysfunction we know, that's on us. Goku nodded slowly, then smiled, that warm, genuine expression that had become his signature. Okay, I can do that, though I'm still going to try talking to the Commission. Can't hurt to at least listen to their concerns, right? As he left the shop, Tanaka turned to the woman. He has no idea, does he, that he's not just preventing crimes, he's dismantling an entire social structure just by existing. No, she agreed, watching through the window as Goku waved at a group of schoolchildren who'd recognized him. And that's what makes it so powerful. He's not trying to change anything, he's just being himself, and his self doesn't fit into the boxes this society has built. On the TV, the news had moved to person-on-the-street interviews about the peace paradox. A businessman spoke nervously. I appreciate being safer, but I miss seeing heroes on my commute. It was reassuring, visual proof that someone was protecting us. Now it's just quiet. How do I know I'm safe if I can't see what's keeping me safe? A college student offered a different perspective. Maybe we're not supposed to need constant reminders that we're being protected. Maybe actual safety is supposed to feel normal, not dramatic. An elderly woman, in my day, we looked after each other. Neighbors knew neighbors. We prevented problems by caring about each other's well-being. Then Quirks appeared, and suddenly we needed special people to do the caring for us. Maybe this Goku person is just reminding us how to do it ourselves again. The segment ended with the host's troubled face. As Musutafu continues to experience unprecedented peace, we're left with an uncomfortable question. What does hero society look like when there are no crises to respond to? And if we can't answer that question, what does that say about what we've built? In the commission headquarters, the president turned off the TV with more force than necessary. This is getting out of control. We need to generate some positive hero publicity, organize some training demonstrations, maybe stage a crisis. The legal advisor looked horrified. You can't be serious. Not a real crisis, a controlled scenario that allows heroes to demonstrate their value, their training there. Their irrelevance in a world where problems are prevented rather than solved. The advisor stood. Madam President, with respect, maybe the question we should be asking isn't how to maintain the current system. Maybe it's whether the current system deserves to be maintained. The room erupted in argument, in fear, in desperate calculations about rankings and revenue and social stability. And through it all, the statistics continued their steady trend. Crime down, hero response down, peace up. A peaceful world doesn't need symbols. It just needs people willing to see each other, hear each other, and intervene before desperation becomes violence. Goku was teaching that lesson without even trying. And hero society. Why was learning, terrified, that some of the most revolutionary changes come not from those trying to overthrow systems, but from those who simply live as if different systems were already possible. The question wasn't whether Goku would change hero society. The question was whether hero society could survive the change he represented, not through force, but through the simple, devastating power of a better example. The meeting wasn't scheduled. It wasn't announced. There were no cameras, no witnesses, no official record. All Might Toshinori Yagi in his true, diminished form had simply asked Goku to meet him on the beach where he'd once trained a quirkless boy to inherit the world's greatest power. Dawn was still an hour away, the sky that peculiar shade of deep blue that exists between night and morning, and the two men stood on sand that had once been covered in trash and was now pristine. Toshinori looked smaller than usual, his skeletal frame hunched inside an oversized jacket, steam occasionally rising from his lips, the remnants of a power that had burned so bright it had consumed him from within. He stared at the ocean for a long time before speaking. "Do you know what it's like," he finally said, his voice lacking its usual booming quality, "to be a symbol?" Goku, wearing his gi despite the early morning chill, considered the question seriously. "I've been famous before. People looked up to me after I saved the world a few times, but I don't think that's the same thing." "No," Toshinori agreed quietly. "It's not. Fame is about recognition. Being a symbol is about replacement. You stop being a person and become an idea, a stand-in for something larger than yourself." He turned to look at Goku, his sunken eyes carrying decades of weight. "For 30 years, I was the symbol of peace. Not a hero who created peace, the symbol itself. The idea that everything would be okay because I existed." "That sounds exhausting," Goku said with his characteristic directness. A laugh escaped Toshinori, bitter and tired. It is, but it was also necessary, or at least I thought it was." He sat down heavily on the sand, his body protesting the movement. "After all, for one's first defeat, after I lost my mentor, I understood something crucial. People needed more than just safety. They needed hope. They needed to believe that good could triumph over evil in a clear, undeniable way, so I became that. I smiled through every fight, never showed weakness, never let them see me struggle, because the moment the symbol wavered, society would waver with it." Goku sat down beside him, cross-legged and comfortable. Did it work? For a while, Toshinori picked up a handful of sand, let it slip through his fingers. Crime rates dropped dramatically. Villain activity decreased. People felt safe enough to live normal lives, to pursue dreams beyond just survival. The symbol of peace created actual peace, or at least the closest approximation this world had seen in generations. "But," Goku prompted gently. "But I'm dying," Toshinori said flatly. "My time as All Might is already over. I can barely maintain the form for an hour now, and soon even that will be gone. I've passed one for all to young Midoriya because he needs to be ready, because the world needs a new symbol when I'm gone." He turned to face Goku fully. "Except now you're here, and everything I built, everything I believed was necessary, you're proving it wrong without even trying." The ocean whispered against the shore. Somewhere in the distance, early morning joggers were beginning their routines, unaware that two of the most powerful beings in their world were having a conversation that could reshape everything they understood about heroism. I'm not trying to prove anything wrong, Goku said carefully. I'm just doing what feels right. I know that's what makes it so devastating. Toshinori's laugh was hollow. You prevent conflicts instead of resolving them. You talk to villains instead of fighting them. You help people without needing recognition or thanks. And it's working. Crime is dropping faster than it ever did even in my prime. Except you're doing it without being a symbol. Without the spectacle, the drama, the clear narrative of good triumphing over evil. He ran a hand through his blonde hair, the motion shaky. You're demonstrating that everything I sacrificed, my body, my personal life, my identity, might have been unnecessary. That peace doesn't require symbols. It just requires someone willing to pay attention and intervene before things escalate. Goku was quiet for a moment, sensing the pain beneath the words. It sounds like you're asking me if your life's work mattered. Did it? Toshinori's voice cracked. If peace was always this achievable, if it just required empathy and prevention instead of overwhelming power and perfect victories, then what was the point? What did I give up everything for? The question hung in the pre-dawn air, heavy and raw. This wasn't All Might speaking. It was Toshinori Yagi, a man who'd hollowed himself out to become an idea, and was now confronting the possibility that the sacrifice had been built on flawed assumptions. Can I tell you what I see? Goku asked gently. Toshinori nodded, not trusting his voice. I see someone who did the best they could with what they understood at the time, Goku began. Your world was different when you started, right? All for One was active, villain activity was overwhelming, society was genuinely on the brink. You became what people needed in that moment, a clear, undeniable force for good that they could rally around, and it worked. You created enough stability that people could breathe, could build lives, could raise children without constant fear. But I'm not finished, Goku said, his tone still kind but firm. You created that stability. Your sacrifice, your dedication, your willingness to become something larger than yourself. That's not nothing. That's not meaningless. You built the foundation that makes what I'm doing now even possible. Toshinori stared at him. What do you mean? Think about it, Goku continued. The people I talk to, potential criminals, struggling individuals, people on the edge of making terrible choices, they grew up in a world that you made safer. They've lived their entire lives knowing that heroes exist, that someone is watching out for them, that society has structures to protect the vulnerable. That baseline of stability, that's your legacy. Without that, without the symbol of peace, creating a society where people could believe in heroism, my approach wouldn't work at all. But you're doing it without the symbol, Toshinori protested, without the spectacle. Because you already did that part, Goku interrupted. You established that heroes matter, that protecting people matters, that society should prioritize safety and justice. I'm not building that foundation. I'm building on the foundation you created. There's a difference. Toshinori was silent, his analytical mind, the same one that had made him a brilliant hero despite not being naturally strong, processing this reframing. You asked me what happens when people stop believing in you, Goku said softly. I think the answer is, that's when they start believing in themselves. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded so well that they internalized what you taught them. They don't need to look up at a symbol anymore because they've learned to embody those values themselves. That's a very optimistic interpretation, Toshinori said, but something in his voice had changed. Is it wrong? Goku challenged gently. Look at your students. Look at young Midoriya. He's not trying to become you. He's trying to become the best version of himself while honoring what you taught him. Same with the others. They learned from your example, but they're not trying to replicate it exactly. They're adapting it, making it their own. Isn't that exactly what growth looks like? Toshinori thought about Midoriya, about how the boy had taken one for all and immediately begun analyzing how to use it differently, more efficiently, in ways that suited his own analytical nature, rather than trying to perfectly emulate All Might's straightforward power approach. I wanted to be irreplaceable, he admitted quietly, not out of ego, but because I thought that's what society needed, a constant, unchanging symbol that people could always depend on. But irreplaceable means static. It means not allowing evolution. Right, Goku agreed, and nothing that's alive can afford to be static. Not people, not societies, not even ideas about what heroism means. He picked up his own handful of sand, watched it fall. You know what I've learned fighting really strong opponents? The scariest ones aren't the ones who are impossibly powerful right now. They're the ones who can adapt, who can grow, who can become something new when the situation demands it. A society that can't evolve past needing one perfect symbol, that's fragile. But a society that learned from that symbol and then built something new, that's antifragile, that's strong. Toshinori absorbed this, feeling something shift in his chest. For years, he'd carried guilt about his failing body, about leaving society without its symbol. He'd frantically tried to prepare Midoriya to fill that role, to become the next pillar that everyone could lean on. But what if that wasn't what society needed? What if the point wasn't to create another pillar, but to teach people how to build their own foundations? "You said I created stability," he said slowly, "that my sacrifice built the foundation for what comes next, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. I thought I was supposed to be permanent, eternal, the symbol that never faded." "Nothing's permanent," Goku said simply. "I've died twice, remember? And you know what? The world kept going, the people I cared about kept fighting. They grieved, yeah, but they didn't collapse, because I'd helped them become strong enough to stand on their own. That wasn't failure, that was success. True strength isn't making people dependent on you, it's making yourself unnecessary." The words hit Toshinori like a physical blow, making yourself unnecessary. His entire heroic career had been built on the opposite premise, making himself so necessary, so central that his mere existence deterred evil. And it had worked for a time. But it had also created a society that didn't know how to function without him, that panicked at the first sign of his decline. "I've been so focused on what I'm losing," Toshinori said, his voice wondering, "that I didn't consider what I might be giving people the opportunity to gain." "Exactly," Goku's face broke into a wide grin. "See, you're smart. This is why I like talking to you." He stretched, his joints popping. "The thing is, Toshinori-san, your time as the symbol of peace isn't ending in failure. It's ending in graduation. Society learned from you, internalized your lessons, and now they're ready for the next phase. Not because you failed to teach them, but because you taught them so well." Toshinori felt tears pricking his eyes, not from sadness, but from something closer to relief. For years, he'd carried the crushing weight of believing his decline meant abandoning society in its moment of need. But Goku was offering a different narrative, that his decline was actually a necessary transition, a passing of the torch not to one successor, but to an entire generation that had learned to embody the values he'd symbolized. "What happens when people stop believing in me?" He repeated his own question quietly. "They start believing in themselves." "In each other," Goku added. "That's the part I've noticed here. Your hero system is very focused on individual excellence, individual rankings, individual symbols. But back home, some of my greatest victories came when I fought alongside friends, when we combined our strengths instead of competing for who was strongest. Maybe that's what comes after the symbol of peace, not another singular pillar, but a network of support, people helping people. A society of heroes rather than a society that needs heroes," Toshinori murmured, the idea taking shape in his mind. Not dependent on one symbol, but millions of small symbols, people choosing to help, to intervene, to care before situations escalate to crisis. "Now you're getting it," Goku clapped him on the shoulder, the gesture friendly and surprisingly grounding. "And that society, it's only possible because you made them believe heroism was real and achievable in the first place. You didn't fail, Toshinori-san. You succeeded so completely that the next phase doesn't look like what you built, because evolution never does." The sky was lightening now, deep blue fading to purple at the edges. Soon the sun would rise, and Musutafu would wake to another day of unprecedented peace, peace that didn't require dramatic hero interventions, peace that existed in the absence of spectacle. "Can I ask you something?" Toshinori's voice was steadier now. "When you eventually leave, and I assume you're trying to find your way home, what do you think will happen? Will society backslide without your influence?" Goku considered this seriously. "I don't know, maybe at first. Change is uncomfortable and people might try to go back to what feels familiar, but I don't think they can, not completely, because they've seen now that another way is possible. They've experienced what it feels like when problems are prevented instead of just responded to. That knowledge doesn't just disappear. It becomes part of what people expect, what they demand from themselves and their systems." He looked out at the ocean, his expression thoughtful. "The real question isn't whether they'll miss me when I'm gone. It's whether they'll take what I demonstrated and build their own versions of it. Make it Japanese, make it fit their society, make it sustainable in ways that work for them. I'm not the answer. I'm just someone who asked a different question. What they do with that question, that's up to them." Toshinori sat with this, feeling lighter than he had in years. His legacy wasn't going to be one perfect successor carrying an impossible burden. It was going to be an entire generation that had learned from both his example and Goku's challenge to it. They'd take the stability he'd created, the new possibilities Goku had demonstrated, and build something neither man could fully predict. "I've been afraid," he admitted, "afraid that without me, everything would collapse, that my students, my society, young Midoriya especially, that they wouldn't be ready, that I'd failed to prepare them adequately." "For what?" Goku asked. "To become you, because yeah, they're not ready for that. Nobody is. You were unique, specific to your moment in history, but they're not us. Uppos to become you, they're supposed to become themselves, and from what I've seen, they're doing that pretty well." "Young Midoriya still struggles with one for all," Toshinori said, "but it was observation rather than criticism. He can't use it the way I did." "Because he's not you," Goku pointed out, "and that's perfect. He's finding his own relationship with that power, one that fits who he is rather than trying to replicate who you were. That's not failure. That's exactly what inherited power should do. Transform with each generation, adapt to new challenges, become something that honors the past while serving the present." Toshinori thought about the conversation he'd had with Midoriya after the boy had developed his shoot style, adapting one for all to work with his analytical combat approach rather than the straightforward power style All Might had used. At the time, part of him had worried it meant Midoriya wasn't fully embracing the power's potential. But maybe it meant the boy was embracing his own potential, which was different and equally valuable. "I think," Toshinori said slowly, "I've been so focused on being the symbol of peace that I forgot to teach what comes after symbols, the values behind the performance, the principles beneath the spectacle." "But you did teach those," Goku insisted. "Maybe not explicitly, but young Midoriya didn't learn to help people from watching you punch villains. He learned it from seeing you care, from understanding that your strength was always in service of others' well-being. That's the lesson that matters. The rest, the poses, the catchphrases, the dramatic arrivals, that was just packaging." "Effective packaging," Toshinori argued, but he was smiling slightly. "Sure," Goku agreed easily. "For its time, for building the foundation. But foundations aren't meant to be lived in, they're meant to be built upon. And your students, this society, they're ready to build. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not without stumbles, but ready." The sun broke over the horizon, painting the ocean in shades of gold and orange that matched Goku's gi. Toshinori felt it on his face, warm and gentle, and for the first time in years, the sunrise didn't feel like a countdown to his irrelevance. It felt like a beginning. "What happens when people stop believing in me?" he asked one more time, but now the question carried wonder rather than fear. "They start believing in themselves," Goku confirmed. "And when enough people believe in themselves, when enough people choose to help and intervene and care, that's when you get something better than one symbol of peace. You get peace itself, real, sustainable, distributed across millions of small choices to be better." "A society that doesn't need me," Toshinori said softly. "A society that you made possible," Goku corrected. "There's a difference. You'll never be unnecessary, Toshinori-san. Your example, your sacrifice, your dedication, that's woven into the foundation of everything that comes next. People don't need you to keep being the symbol. They need you to show them that symbols can evolve, that heroes can be human, that it's okay to pass the torch not as failure but as trust." Toshinori stood slowly, his weakened body protesting but complying. He looked at this strange man from another world, this person who had accidentally dismantled decades of hero society infrastructure simply by being authentically himself, and felt profound gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for showing me that the end of my time as All Might doesn't have to be the end of what All Might meant, that the symbol can transform rather than simply disappear." "The symbol already has transformed," Goku pointed out, standing as well. "It transformed the moment you chose young Midoriya as your successor. It transformed again when other heroes started questioning the ranking system. It's transforming right now in this conversation. Symbols aren't static unless we force them to be. Yours has always been evolving. You just needed permission to see that evolution as growth rather than decay." They stood together on the beach where it had all begun, where a skeletal man had taken a quirkless boy and transformed him into something new. Not a replica, not a replacement. Something that honored the past while building toward a future neither could fully envision. "I should get back," Toshinori said eventually. "I have classes to teach. Students who need to see that their mentor isn't afraid of the future, even if he won't be the one primarily shaping it." "That's good," Goku said warmly. They need to see you excited about what they're becoming, not sad about what you're losing. Change is only scary when we resist it. When we embrace it, it's just the next adventure. As Toshinori walked away, his skeletal form somehow standing straighter than when he'd arrived, Goku called out one more time, "Hey, Toshinori-san." The former symbol of peace turned back. "You did good, geez." Oku said simply, "Really good. The world you helped create, it's beautiful. And whatever comes next will be beautiful too, because you taught people how to care about each other. That's a legacy no amount of changing times can erase." Toshinori felt tears finally fall, but they were clean tears, releasing rather than burdening. He nodded, not trusting his voice, and continued his walk back toward UA, toward his students, toward a future that didn't require him to be perfect or permanent, just present and honest about the journey. Behind him, Goku watched the sun continue its rise, thinking about power and legacy, and what it meant to be strong enough to make yourself unnecessary. He thought about Gohan, about his friends on Earth, about all the people he'd fought alongside, who'd had to learn that real strength wasn't about being the strongest. It was about helping others discover their own strength. The symbol of peace wasn't ending. It was graduating. And graduation, Goku knew from experience, was always both an ending and a beginning, the completion of one journey and the start of another, more difficult, more rewarding adventure. The adventure of becoming yourself.